everybody, and welcome. Is this working? Do I need to talk into this? Can you hear me this way? Okay. Thank you so much for coming on a less than benign evening, but it's the best one we've gotten so far. So I feel blessed that we are just able to do this. Thank you, thank you. So welcome. I'm hoping that lots more people, and I know many more people did intend to come. You know, I have about 10 people who aren't here that, you know, intend to come to meetings. And hey, one more is coming in right now. So please tell your friends. This is a community in a different way, I think maybe a community committee. We should introduce ourselves, right? However we want. We don't have nameplates yet, so you want to start?
I guess I'm being volunteered.
You are.
Good evening. My name is Brooke Newborn. I have lived in New Britain Township my entire life. Lily brought home from the hospital to New Britain Township. I went through the Central Bucks School District from Piedmont to Yanami to West. I was baptized in St. Jude Church and I still attend there. And I was previously on the Parks and Recreation Committee. And I am an attorney with practice in Doylestown.
I'm Mary Margaret Briggs. I prefer to be called Margaret, so that's what you're going to see on everything from this point onward. I have been a township resident for 40 years this year. I wasn't born here, though. I'm a bit older than that. And I am retired. I also have served on Parks and Rec. But my interest has always been more on the environmental side of things. And so here I am as a retired nurse researcher, volunteering my time for this important council.
So hi, I'm Kathleen Davis. I cannot claim to have lived here for 40 years or all my life. I've been here 22 years. Always been in the Delaware Valley. I'm also retired. And the way I'm thinking about it now, I know I always wanted to devote all my time as much as possible to environmental issues. So now I'm thinking, this is my second act. Hey, we're retired, we can say second act. This is environmental stuff is my second act. It gives me, I've had time to become a master watershed steward, which is one of the best things I've ever done. And I wonder why I didn't keep my desire as a kid to be an oceanographer, which is what I wanted to be. So I'm master watershed steward, tree tender, and just want to continue working toward environmental issues. You, Katie, you're right. Oh, yeah, either one.
Okay, my name's Kathleen Dutil, but I do go by Katie. I have lived in the township since 2012. I joined the Parks and Rec committee for the last couple of years, and I just was looking for something else to get more involved in the community. I am an attorney. I work in-house, and at this point I'm working remotely, so it actually gives me more time to, devote to community interests, and that's why I, decided to put my name in for this committee and do more for the community with my free time.
Hi, I'm Jamie. I've lived here since 2011. I'm a reading specialist, but since I worked in schools and then I privately tutored, but since COVID, I've been home with my kids. I can devote a lot of time to the board and I care about the environment.
Thank you. Do you guys want to introduce yourself since there's not that many of you here now? I'm getting head shakes now. Some people are shy. It will come out in the long run, I can tell you that, especially you, shy one over there. So we have to organize ourselves. It's our very first meeting. Committees need vice chairs and secretaries. So I'd like to, first of all, the vice chair, the main function of the vice chair is to run the meeting when the chair's not here. So if sometime when I'm not here, then we need a vice chair to run the meeting. So let's do that one first. Do I have a nomination for vice chair?
would like to nominate Brooke, if she is so willing, as vice chair.
Okay. Brooke is nominated. Do we have any more nominations?
Are you so willing?
I'm willing,
You're
yes.
willing? Yes,
Second.
I need a second, I know. I need a second.
I don't think I can second
Can
myself.
somebody else second? Okay, you're seconded.
Thank you.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, Vice Chair is Brooke. Okay. And we need a secretary, and secretary is really important. Secretary takes good minutes and also keeps the records. And the records are essential for a lot of reasons, not to mention that we have to give an annual report at the end of the year. So that can't happen without good records. And I would like to nominate Margaret, who takes fabulous minutes and has more records than I can withstand. Is there a second?
I second it.
Everybody good?
I second it.
Okay, everybody's aye.
Yes,
Okay,
Question,
yes.
you're definitely gonna take the minutes, so I don't have to.
I absolutely will, yeah.
Thank you.
You won't regret it. She takes great notes. It's crazy.
I was doing it for the tricentennial committee, so.
I have studiously avoided
Do you-
ever having to
if-
take
if you-
minutes.
I don't want to
from
take it
meetings.
away from you, John.
Okay. All right, great. We have a fully organized committee. Now, the meeting schedule. We've had difficulty getting ourselves straight on our meeting days, and Thursday seems to work well for everyone as a day of the week. The fourth Thursday, we've been talking up here, has some glitches as the year goes along. The fourth Thursday is Thanksgiving. The fourth Thursday is December 27th, which is not an impossible day. It's not exactly a good day. And then, I don't know if we want to go here yet, but Easter Good Thursday is the fourth Thursday. So, but I really, do you think if we just handled November and December now, John, that would
Whatever you.
suffice? Okay. So I think what might work now is to get some suggestions for November, December. But not necessarily have to commit right this minute because it wouldn't have to be advertised for a while yet. And everybody should have time to go home and check their calendars and maybe talk to some family and make sure the suggestions are okay. Does that sound good? Do people have suggestions?
So, I was looking at the calendar and, that first Thursday, which was open in the building here, December 5th, perhaps we could use that one day to cover both November and December, since that time of year is generally slow and people are on vacations and away and holidays and family and all of that. And to kind of take that a step further with the earlier discussion, then maybe we can look at the first Thursdays of each month. And see if that's even feasible.
To switch our meeting day again?
That would work.
Yes.
I think that would be better the
I-
first
I
Thursday.
agree, because there'd be fewer conflicts, right?
It's certainly something that John needs to comment on. though,
The
too.
John's hiding his
He's hiding.
eyes. Good point.
The March date is not good,
Yeah, March.
and
is-
the May one isn't good either.
And also, it's also.
Like John
August.
wants to jump in here.
August is also,
Keep scheduled out, just one in December. And then work on what you wanna do for next year, please.
It goes by the calendar year.
You can set your calendar year, but what you wanna
Yeah.
do for next year. Focus on that in like October, when you wanna have your meeting for next year.
Right.
Okay.
So I'm thinking a 12-month schedule, but we can just deal with December and things start over. You advertise in December for the whole next year, right? That's beautiful. Switch then. Okay.
You should have your meeting dates 25
Mhm.
settled.
I like that.
Okay, so we'll all go and take a look at December 5th.
Mhm.
December 5th.
which would be a consolidated day. So it is a Thursday?
So that would cover November and December's.
Correct.
Yes.
It's just a chance. Well, we can have a regular night. If there are exceptions, you can move it. That, right? Something. So when you're going to think about for next year, because you're limited by the number of days because you're the last committee in, so you get, everyone else has their seat. But you have to pick around several dates. So you might want to think about, if you, like this year, the fourth Thursday, you just have a meeting in first December. That works. So you don't have to always stick to that specific date for each month.
Okay,
You just have to give enough time in advance for it to be advertised for the public.
That's correct.
okay. Okay, we'll check December 5th and it looks like we might have solution in two different ways. Okay, great. All right, so that little stuff out of the way, we can get down to EACs. And if you want, there are agendas in the box over there, if you don't have one. So there's an EAC handbook, which we read a while ago, that lists the sorts of things EACs do. So what do you guys think are, on the top of your list for the sorts of things that EACs accomplish, what the mission of an EAC is, and the sorts of activities?
I'll go
Go ahead.
first.
Go ahead.
From my perspective, in what I know of the comprehensive plan of New Britain Township, there has been at least a written position that the township supports preserving open space and supporting our environment. So I think this EAC, what we can do is education.
Mhm.
I think that's important for the community to understand not only what its township is doing, but what an individual resident can do to help the environment. With regard to the open space, I know years ago, the township had not an environmental advisory council, but it was called the Land Preservation Committee, I believe. And, I kind of see some overlap in this council with regard to those types of duties. And also giving our input to other decisions that perhaps the Board of Supervisors might be looking at. A good example are some of the zoning ordinances that are being looked at right now by Gilmore.
Mhm.
And the Saldo ordinances
Mhm.
that Gilmore is also suggesting. I don't want to get ahead of it because that's also on
That's
our
on the
agenda.
Agenda.
But
briefly.
yeah, those are kind of like the big three bucket items for me
Mhm.
personally.
Mhm. And in fact, the primary note on an EAC is that it is an advisory board. So we advise, we don't set policy, but we advise the Board of Supervisors on potential things that can be done to preserve and conserve natural resources, or more proactively to take up some methods of doing positive things for the watershed. Now, we've had a recent presentation on watershed and on the township's resources more broadly. And that's in our ordinance. Yeah, the open space, I think, gets more space in our ordinance, our own charge from the township, than anything else. One of the things that we probably should start taking up next week as to how we'll go about it is that we're actually charged with keeping an index of all the open space and the natural resources and sensitive environmental areas like floodplains. So we actually have research to do. We don't just advise like off the top of our heads, we actually have to do research. and do a kind of a studied recommendation. So you mentioned education, that's also one of the prime. Go ahead.
I was gonna point out that I already, 5 years ago,
Mhm.
kind of did a survey with Ken
Oh, I know, I know.
of the township-owned open
Mhm.
space at least, that's not being utilized for parks,
Mhm.
so forth. So
Mhm.
we do have a little head start.
Anybody else want to pitch in?
I like the idea of keeping open space too. That was my main, one of my main concerns here, because everything's getting built on and.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely open space.
And I think community really cares about.
Yes, they do.
Especially, I would say too, I think on certain parts of the township, I feel like the building is all occurring on, the
Mhm.
side of the township I live on, and so, with all that building comes more congestion on the roads, comes,
Mhm.
there's everything else that adds to it, and it would be nice to see some open space on, you know, throughout the township, not centered on certain, areas, certain seem like they have 2 acre lots, and then other areas, it seems like they're putting, townhomes on top of townhomes, and it's gonna cause the congestion that, I'll be honest, I moved further away from the city to get away from congestion, and it's coming, with the development that's.
Yep, yep. We moved from Delaware County. for that.
Right, see.
Yes. And there hopefully will be some things that we can do. Powers limited. People own land. Zoning is a factor. Maybe I don't want to get too much into the weeds right now, but if you look at the zoning map of the township, it's divided into sections. And there's a section that is identified as where the township imagines the future development that has to happen, because every township has to do their fair share in absorbing some of the press of population that's coming. And then there are areas that are kind of in between, and areas that are designed to be kept as rural as possible. Because there's just creeks and floodplains and steep hills and all that kind of stuff. And our area, yes. So it's hard. Yeah, which
Right.
doesn't mean we can't do nothing.
No, but, what we can advise board of supervisors is to follow the zoning as it is set up and the use regulations as it's set up, and at least stick within the impervious and the amount of tree boot placement and things like that, because I think what you're talking about really is the Butler Corridor, which is under the land development of the township in the code.
Do we have any role in reviewing plans similar to what the planning commission and the zoning hearing board do?
Yes, that is actually part of our charge. So the planning commission looks at it for certain purposes.
Mhm.
And we also, as a matter of course, also look at them for the purposes of putting an eye to environmental resources, and the top notch don't do anything to harm those, and ideally put things in place that are even better, so to make improvements. So yes, and that is another technical area. And in case you're wondering, why are we sort of like polling each other, is that this township has basically never had an EAC before. And all the townships around us do. So we have to put ourselves together. We have to talk it out. But if you have input, because this is your EAC, yes. Right. So it's online. All of these are public documents. By law, they need to be. If you look under, what's the word, John, is it documents or is it the drop down?
Documents, maybe separate.
Mhm.
Uh, what's it called?
It's not the ordinances, is it?
It's the search engine.
Oh,
I get one. I get one.
Easel?
if,
Eco,
Eco.
Oh,
Under
okay.
Eco.
Eco.
ECODE, like electronic code, not.
E-code.
But there's a link, there is a link to the E code on the township website.
Yeah,
And
but
also
you,
a basic Google search might bring it up for you.
but you actually don't need to go into the E code to get the comprehensive plan. There's on the drop-down box from information, I think, across the top, it's home, events, government, information, something else. I'm pretty sure that information, yeah.
I just want to say, I the awful paper copy that should be available to our residents who can walk and look at it. And also our current open space plan, which we are in the process of updating, it's dated 2008.
Yes, yeah. So the open space plan 2000, the first one, or the
Yes.
older?
I don't know when the first one was, the last one that was done, I think it was
It's
2000.
2008.
Yeah, it is. The last one was 2008, but it leans heavily on the 2001. I read them both, but it gets stirred up in my head because I've been reading too many township documents lately. But all of this is, these are public documents. So easily accessible, the open space, the comprehensive plan, that zoning map is a page in the comprehensive, I'm pretty sure is a page in the comprehensive plan. Pretty sure that's where I saw it, but if
It's
not, it would be in the E-code.
It's in the E code too.
Yeah,
yeah.
probably a lot of overlap.
It's not easy to navigate, but
Mhm.
everything's there. It's just
Mhm.
a matter of being patient. Year and a half.
So that is another thing that I was gonna bring up, that is the looking over development plans as well as amendments to ordinances. Our job is to look at them for the purposes of saving the environment, conserving, helping, and advising. Just putting our advice down on paper. We send our memos to John and John passes them on to the other people. So that's how it works. I wanted to read, anybody else on things that jumped out at you as to the important things that we do? So under powers of the EACs, identify on environmental problems and recognize and recommend plans. So if you guys see environmental problems out there, because, like a certain area is being flooded. A certain area of a creek is, the bank is being degraded and worn away. You tell us, if you see, put your eyes out. But there can be all kinds of, if you see some kind of pollution happening, that you think that doesn't look right, so identifying problems, recommending plans to rectify, recommending possible uses of a open space, promote a community environmental program, so education, really important. But also plan and implement on the ground projects and educational efforts. So on the ground projects like a riparian buffer, plant trees. Try to work on a stormwater basin. Plant a rain garden, on the ground efforts like that. And those things can be combined with education. So planting a rain garden can both help in that particular spot with rainwater. And at the same time, people can get involved and learn all about how to make a rain garden. And then I'm saying all this because I'm hoping that people who are good with shovels and and they're energetic and they like trees can help get involved. And I know we'll have a lot of community volunteers and that'll be fun.
And we need to learn how to write grants.
And then there's grants. Yes, and then there are grants. We need to. We have lists of resources or grants, yes.
If I may make a suggestion, start planning now, perhaps you could put up a tent, or the township will provide you with a tent and tables for the Fall Fest. Hopefully it will grow this year, where you could put up some sort of educational booth or information or plans for a rain garden, or even educating on native plants versus invasives and that sort of thing.
Oh, yes, I forgot removing invasives. Yeah, we probably should have a table or a tent or anything like that at every township event. Like the Easter egg hunt as well, it was suggested to us.
In
March,
their
yes.
iffy weather. For the Fall Fest is usually pretty good, not pouring rain. I don't
It's
think
not last year.
have-
Well, we heard that. Yeah, we heard Santa House wasn't a good idea. Well, let's take the temperature on the Easter Bunny thing, because right before spring, right before it just really gets warm and everybody's wanting to get out there and plant plants, people are looking forward to warmer weather in spring. Could be a
We
good
also
time.
have a recycling, paper shredding, e-cycling event
Mhm.
in, May. I can't recall the date. But if you're going to go on to any of the park and rec planned events, please clear it with.
Oh, yeah.
I had brought it up when I was on Park and Rec before the Santa House, if we could have a table there just to introduce ourselves. And at that time, I was told that it was not a good idea to introduce ourselves before we had our actual first meeting. And at that time, they did suggest, well, maybe we'll look at it for the Easter egg hunt. So it's now that we've had our first meeting, maybe they'll be in a better mindset.
Santa House is difficult because you're in a parking lot,
Right.
everything's going on, kids are running
Oh,
around.
yeah, I've worked it.
It's also dark, so it's not really ideal there.
Mhm.
But Saturday, was it March 23rd, Saturday? This Easter egg.
Mhm. Mhm.
Well, we are supposed to be interacting with other committees in
Mhm.
the township, correct?
Yeah.
And I believe Parks and Rec has a meeting on Tuesday. So I don't have my calendar in front of me, but I can certainly walk over and just kind of throw it out there and see if we can maybe just hand out flyers or something. Did you know your township now has a environmental advisory council? We'd love to hear your ideas, and could we potentially have like a suggestion box or something in the lobby out there,
Or
or
maybe even an email address.
just a group email address? Yeah, that'd be great if we could do that.
With township,
Oh,
so EAC@PA.us.
I mean, I think at this
Mhm.
point, just the visibility, just even letting parents at the Easter egg hunt know. We're here now. We're just getting started, but we'd like to hear your ideas.
mhm.
Could also let the Butler know. I gather there, I don't know, are there any New Britain town, there's still New Britain town people that go to UNAMI, correct?
I did.
Yeah.
Okay, so any of the schools that are in the township. I know they put on things from time to time themselves, they might be interested in having. You come in and give a presentation, or I think they do Earth Day.
We should get connected to an Earth Day somewhere. Yeah, yeah. So that would be a good way to approach the schools. It's hard to get into schools, I've been told, with some sort of a, can we come into your fifth grade and show them it's
I
really
think we would
hard,
also have to have,
everything.
clearances,
Yeah,
anybody who comes in to
Yeah.
the school.
I know. I've got clearances.
Yeah.
Well, but it's still, their time is so crushing. But events is a different matter.
Maybe for
Yeah.
next year, I think like This spring semester might be.
Because teachers may have more interest than the school itself and,
Biology teachers.
They have like environmental clubs at schools too.
volunteers, like in dig.
Middle school or high school?
Get some teenage boys instead of.
I'll go back to the newsletter. I forget if it's because they recycle lights and they do all sorts of stuff.
That would be good.
Yeah,
yeah.
I forget which school it is. It's either UNAMI or Sale.
Okay,
They have volunteer clubs that go out and volunteer. You could, you know, if you had an event, you could post it with them. I think Key Club, I know it's West, I don't know what they have at South. But they're
Mhm.
basically looking for volunteer opportunities to serve.
The National Honor Society always looks for volunteers.
okay. So,
This might be a stretch, but at least I know it's at St. Jude. For anybody any of the children who are going through confirmation, which is in 6th grade, they have to put in a certain number of hours of community service.
what month do they get confirmed? You know?
I honestly don't recall.
I'm just wondering
So
this
we might
year,
be past it,
if we're too late, but maybe for next year. Yeah,
right?
yeah, okay. All right. Okay. Yeah, middle school and high school kids, first of all, it's a perfect age to start getting them involved with these kinds of things. They love it, generally speaking. We'll get them away from their phones.
I don't know about that.
Right.
Take selfies as they're planting trees.
Okay, that's right. And we not only could use the help, but it's also they're connected to their parents usually. So that's why the Easter egg hunt is a nice way to, the kids are there. If we do something that's attractive to the kids, as same with Fall Fest. Yeah, so we have to get creative. If you know any creative people who want to help out. Okay. That's probably, John, did you want to add in anything from now? Okay,
Covered it.
okay. So that's our overview from basically abstract positions, never having been on an AC before and actually done stuff with an AC, at least for this township. But what we have planned, and we can now finally go through with, is that each one of us is going to contact the chair of a neighboring EAC. That got set up in December. But it was always planned that the call would happen after our first meeting. So I had to keep emailing this group of chairs that someone helped me set up this whole thing. And say, not yet, not yet. So now we can do it. So I think I emailed who's doing which township, and I will. So Warrington, that's you, Brooke, and Fred Supian, but I'll email this to you and I'll send you his emails. Buckingham is Katie, that's Andrea Strout. Doylestown Township is Jamie, and that's Jim Baldessara. And Warminster is Margaret, John McGee. And then I'll do New Britain Borough. Just on price. So I'll send all the information out. We can email them tomorrow or something, set up a phone call. So the idea is it's not a cold call, that never works. And they know, they expect you to call. They expect you to email, I mean, and know that you're setting up a call. Okay, so I'm hoping that then with that, so what I would like to do now, and I think we're doing all right in time. It's an hour and a half, generally speaking, the meetings, right, John?
Yep.
Okay. Is brainstorm. All these conversations are going to go the way conversations do. But at the same time, if we have a couple questions that we want to make sure to ask in common, we might come back next time with material we can work with rather than just lists. You know what I mean? So one question would be grants. Have you gotten grants? of any kind. Do you have any advice for us with regard to grants? But I'm just that, we don't have to choose all of these. Let's just throw some questions out there.
I would like to know what they do. I've never heard of any of them, so
Mhm.
what do they do in the township?
Right, what's the EC do?
Yeah.
Yeah, basically, what do you do? Yeah. Yeah,
I'd like to know how they interact with the other committees in the townships or boroughs.
okay.
Definitely the grant. I'd like to know their grant tips.
Tips, yeah,
Tips.
yeah. And I'm sure not everybody has gotten grants.
No, that
Um,
we're competition.
Not that we're a competition, no. I have heard that Doylestown just got trees
Okay,
for Hart's Woods.
okay.
Which is great. I think they got a grant for that.
Will they look at us as competition, you think, Ken? No?
Competition.
no,
It's not about competing.
no,
Okay.
It's about making your constituents happy, right? People that live here happy with where they live.
right. And not only that, but it could be that we want to join together, and in fact, if it's later on the agenda, but grant makers want they don't want it to do patchwork anymore. A little thing here and a little thing there. They're looking for large solutions. They're looking at a whole big watershed or a whole creek. They want to see how something is going to be improved in a consistent manner down the run. Otherwise, what good is it to patch this? You've still got this coming at it, things like that. So grant tips would be great. And no, we don't have to worry about that competition. You have anybody else have suggestions for the kinds of questions? Yes, yeah. That's a big one.
I think the CNR site tells you what they're looking for. They're pretty open about what they're looking for to fit that. outline, whatever, they lay it out. for you.
They do. Yeah,
But some are very, there's a lot of stipulation,
mhm.
can be a lot of rating.
Can I ask, because I'm taking the minutes here, if I can have your full name, I know Ken, but
I'm sorry, that's my fault.
Ken Jones,
Yeah.
yeah, I know Ken. So-
okay, Carol Weston,
I've seen you before, but I didn't know your last name.
I will say
And
at
it's
other
long.
meetings, people announce where they're from. Or do we need to do
At
that?
all meetings. Each time they speak.
I believe in the audience.
Maybe should also confirm that they are actually residents of New Britain Township or
Do a public
have
comment.
businesses, what their interests are, not that they're just
Yeah, it's supposed to be either.
random
both as a
people.
These are not random people.
I mean, well, that's
Not
true.
this crowd,
I know,
as a
Yeah.
policy in the future.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah,
not in
that's
this
true.
weather.
I was being too informal.
Yeah, like at the real meet, like you would have a public comment period,
Well,
but if you wanted.
I think we should. Yeah, I think that,
We do have a public comment period listed on our
Yeah.
agenda for tonight, so maybe we can reserve it for the end.
Well, I think
We
it's
weren't
because
having
if you're,
discussions, though, it's really good to
Yeah.
have input from people that are here to help us.
no, but I think when you're in, like, we're on video, right? But the people in the audience aren't. So that's why I think when there's people talking, that's part of the public comment. I think that's why they say their name and introduce
Right.
themselves. That's,
okay,
so somebody watching online.
right. Knows who the
Because they won't
person is.
see- won't see who's talking. That's the only.
True. Thank you.
Yeah, you're in charge.
No, we're all working our way through
Yeah,
this.
exactly. Or I should say, like, you could try to go back and look at the video later, right? And then somebody will
True.
wonder who said that,
Yeah.
right? You won't have that.
And the Board of Supervisors has recently adopted the practice of the public can ask questions or make comments on after each motion. Correct, Mary Beth?
On each item.
On each item, not even necessarily a
Any
motion.
comment,
Mhm.
anything that's not on the agenda
Correct,
in addition, but there.
right, something can be completely different. Mhm.
I
Okay,
would say probably follow what the supervisors do.
okay.
I would think, you know,
Yeah.
that
Mhm.
makes sense.
Mhm. Okay. So aside from getting people's names, that was my bad. On YouTube, sorry, YouTube. But we can pretty much proceed as we have been, talking a bit about it and then getting input on the item from the group. Okay. And I think I would like to know what each EAC considers their most successful project. That would give us a. So it'll be fun to come back next time and see what we've got.
So you want this by the 20th? You want to do this by the 22nd?
Yeah. Everybody think they can do that?
If
Yeah,
you
you'll
send
send
us the contact
course.
information.
I'll
Yeah,
send it to you
immediately.
tonight.
Yeah.
Immediately. Yeah, I will do that. All right. Okay. So any questions on any of that? No. There are so many things that an EAC can do that we not only have to think about all of these possibilities for ourselves, but we have to set out some tasks. What would we like to do? We can't do everything. So we'd have to name some primary goals. There can be more than one, you know, there's a group of them, but we do have to think about that and not just try pell-mell. Okay. So moving on then to number 7. In the weeks that we've been waiting to have our first meeting, actual items have come to us. That wouldn't have been the case the very first meeting. So the first one I have written down here, and I hope everybody got a chance to look at, the Pennsylvania Environmental, Council's, list of what they are offering. Is a recommendation to the Board of Supervisors regarding the, I'm looking at the old regarding the opportunity for ordinance review by PEC and to engage them for that purpose. Just to, especially for, if people are watching this later, the Pennsylvania Environmental Council, PEC, has a grant to help townships do a review of their ordinances, not just any ordinances, but look for ordinances that would in some way be a hindrance to green stormwater infrastructure, to implementing green stormwater infrastructure. It would save staff a lot of time. Reading ordinances is not a fun thing. So for example, because you might wonder what that is, they would keep an eye out for ordinances relating to things like requirements for edging of parking lots that might get in the way of implementing green stormwater infrastructure. Green stormwater infrastructure, meaning ways to reduce stormwater runoff into our drains that go directly to our streams. Also flood, but and therefore carry all kinds of pollutants and speed water very quickly down to the streams. So green infrastructure doesn't just use pipes. It doesn't just use ditches with some rocks that quickly move to a big storm sewer, but rather uses green matter to slow it down, move it around, get it to sink into the ground, and such, get pulled up by tree roots. Anybody in the audience who wants to add to that would be welcome.
Lots and lots of information. Carol Weston, yeah.
Yes,
Lots of information out there about green stormwater.
yes, there's a ton.
I mean, it'd be hours to
It
go
would.
into it, yes.
Yeah.
But there's a lot we can do.
I think we had
I
also,
just need to see the whole plan.
we had also suggested that you identify where you live or your connection to New Britain Township.
I've been a resident for maybe 30+ years.
Do we want to ask people the exact
Do you need
address? Is that,
Adrian Ferry Road.
thank you.
I'm not going into that level of detail.
They don't need to be in the
I don't
minutes.
think
I
it
just, it's to show that you act, not you personally, since obviously people here, but just a general policy to make sure people who are speaking have an interest in New Britain Township.
So
Um, so they look at ordinances about landscaping, for various kinds of areas, requirements for snow storage areas on development site plans, one I never would have thought of. But,
Comes up all the time,
yes.
especially today.
So they just go through the ordinances. They have a grant to do this, which grew out of the apparent need for it. Because townships want to do, it's like another one of those obstacles that townships are finding. So we need to, if we think that the township should take up the PEC's program and engage with them to do it, we need to take a vote. Do I have a motion?
Can I was gonna
Sure.
say, can I have ask a question?
Mhm.
But like the group itself, like, do we, is this something that, they're gonna come in and, if we've had these longstanding ordinances that we, I guess, don't have an issue with, that we think that, like, I guess I don't understand, they're a third party, right? Like, so how do we know their interests are aligned with township residents, for example,
Okay,
right? Does
Right.
that make sense?
they do a review and so the way, I didn't print it out, but
Okay.
that sheet that I sent,
Okay.
what they are asking is to meet with thank you. I told you, she's the documents person. They have a list of tasks between themselves and the township. This is free, by the way. It's the grant so that it's free for the township. It's a valuable thing.
I'll put the hyperlink in the meeting minutes.
Okay. Mhm. They have an introductory meeting with several people from the staff that this township would decide. They might assign one of us to this group, a group of about 4 people from the township, somebody from the board. I don't know. The township would decide, the board of supervisors would decide who is going to meet with the PEC person or persons. They would have a meeting with the representatives. They gather up all the codes and policies that they would be looking at. They have some questions that they need to ask the township, so they have a good starting point. And then they do the audit. They go through and they do all of that work. And they generate a recommended actions report. They don't do anything to our ordinances. Their interest is their environmental council, so they already know what green stormwater infrastructure needs in order to be implemented. And they have townships and the state, the state is very much desperate to get stormwater cleaned up. All our streams are impaired. And there are lots of regulations being put in place now, which also are expensive for townships, to get them started on getting cleaned up. And this is part of that effort, to implement some green stormwater infrastructure. Because when stormwater sinks down into the ground, or gets sucked up by trees, the ground is going to clean it. Slow it down and clean it. So that you don't, when stormwater runs quickly over the, well, there are all kinds of pollutants. You've got your agriculture. And so stormwater is coming down, raining really hard. It goes over the agricultural fields. What does it drag? It drags the fertilizer. and maybe the pesticides. Fast as can be, pshoo, right into the storm drains. All coming down, it's gonna head straight into the creek. Fertilizer causes so much trouble in creeks. It goes down parking lots and streets. Pshoo, fast as can be. It pulls salts from after snowstorms, and when water gets too salty, kills fish, right? We have a fisherman in the audience here. It drags down the fertilizers that people, no, I'm on streets now. The oils and the heavy metals from people's cars. So all kinds of pollutions off of the parking lot. And then the same thing with running over our lawns. If people fertilize their lawns, that fertilizer and weed killers and stuff goes right into the creek. People have discovered that if you get more to infiltrate into the ground, through rain gardens, through slowing it down, through various mechanisms of redirecting it like that, that you are going to have less pollution in the streets and fewer floods, flash floods. That's another story. Did you?
Just as a practical example, when you have these heavy storms,
Mhm.
I don't know if you remember, but Walters Road was washed out twice. And that's $1 million each time we have to fix it. Brittany Farms, the stream that runs through Brittany Farms has been eroded from all of the water. We have a $2 million estimate to do stream bank stabilization. This costs a lot of money to fix. If we could stop the water from getting there, and we're under a legal obligation, we have an MS4 obligation to do projects to stop the stormwater from getting into the creeks. Taking apart the stream banks, flash floods, taking it. It's just common sense to not want to have to replace Walter Road every 2 years. At $1 million each. We can control the water and get it back into the ground instead of rushing along creek beds and through culverts. We can save a lot of money, is what we'd like to do.
Yep.
So this company will, or this organization will come in and look at the ordinances and see if they will help do all that.
They will advise which of our ordinances that we may never even have noticed yet. Something about curbs or edging on parking lots. Something about how much grass has to be planted somewhere. They'll say, look at all these spots. This is going to be a there's a word that they use. It's going to be an obstruction. When you go to do this green stormwater project that you're going to want to do, the township wants to do them for the reasons that Mary Beth just pointed out. You're going to have to run and fix your ordinances. It's time consuming and even expensive to patchwork fix ordinances one at a time here and there as you come across them. So if somebody like this comes along and says, we'll help you. We'll help you find all these little spots where your ordinances down the line could give you trouble 3 months from now when you want to do that project, because you have to fix the ordinance before you could do it. The township can't break its own ordinance. So the ordinance will need to be changed. And then 6 months later, maybe there's this other ordinance. You know what I mean? If you keep going like that, it's a lot of time for the township.
Okay, so they
Changing
just come in
ordinances.
and look at it,
They
but
look
we're
at
not
it.
bound to anything.
No.
Okay,
And it's free.
It's free.
well,
Yeah, yes.
The township supervisors, I mean, we're just making a recommendation, I think, to
Yes.
use the free service.
okay.
The
Mhm.
Board of Supervisors has to look at it and decide whether or not
Mhm.
they're going to. And then they would, if they decide, yes, they will use the service, then they go through the whole process of the review, come back and make recommendations. The Board of Supervisors doesn't have to accept a single one of their
No, they don't.
recommendations.
So
And it's just for stormwater.
Green in infrastructure, green stormwater infrastructure.
Okay, that's the only thing to
Yes.
look at.
That's what they're looking at, impediments to green stormwater infrastructure. That's the task for which their grant,
Like they can't come in and tell people they can't fertilize their lawns anymore, or stuff like that.
no.
Okay.
It's township board. They can't, first of all, they can't tell anybody to do
Yeah.
anything. They can point out the ordinances that have problems. Or that could be problems down the road when the township wants to go forward with the project. And so then the township can look at all of these different ones as a unit and decide what they want to change, and they probably will want to change some because they do want to do these kinds of projects.
Right.
And go about doing it.
Like how many ordinances do we have for water? Like rain, runoff, what's? How many?
Is it?
You know,
I'm doing, like a lot or?
Sure, every
Yes.
municipality does, and some were written 100 years ago and some were written 2 days ago, and
Yeah.
they don't always align, and you can also see sometimes things were copied and pasted, so
Yeah.
from one to another, so even just a basic streamlining
Mhm.
of recommendation of how the ordinances should be written might be a benefit. Even to developers to know what are they supposed to do and why does ordinance number 257 contradict with ordinance number, yeah.
Mhm.
And not just in New Britain Township, I'm not.
I live across the street from Neshaminy Creek and it floods all, I mean. So it is a problem, but
Yeah, it is. It is. And it wouldn't just be ordinances that look at first glance like they're about water. I mean, ordinances that are about curbs don't look like they're about water. But when it comes to green infrastructure, curbs can get in the way of water that you want to flow into a rain garden or something like that.
yeah,
And if the ordinance says you have to have the curb, the township can't get the water into the rain garden till it fixes the ordinance. It says you have to have the curb.
We were just the other night at the Board of Supervisors meeting, because I was thinking about this. They just got from Gilmore the Saldo recommendations for parking, and what was the other one? Traffic.
Yeah.
And if you look at the parking lots in this township, they were built, most of them, what, 20, 30 years ago. There's so many spots, for example, over at what we call Big Giant. And with more online ordering and people picking up and all, you don't need all those parking spots. There's other places in the township that, because of the code, the way that it's written, you have to have X number of parking spots for this building or that building. Do we really need those anymore? I'd like to see something like that maybe come out of this review, and that's kind of where my
Mhm.
brain goes when I think about the interaction between all these different things and how it ultimately impacts the environment. Because if you have so much impervious surface on a parking lot that was required because of the ordinance, do we really need that? Can we fix that? Can we at least reduce it?
Mhm.
You know, do
Mhm.
something like that.
There's a big push statewide, maybe nationally, to reduce the required parking spots for shopping centers and stuff.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So, but the long and the short of it is, the only thing they ask of the township is some time to meet with them in the beginning and in the end to go over the work that they've done. And I'm sure that the main reason they want that time at the end is so they don't just hand a report to somebody and somebody says, oh, thanks. And that's the end of it. They want to sit down with people and they will also help with a couple public events, which is nice. But they're not exactly offering to organize them all by themselves or anything.
There's 3 meetings,
3 meetings,
a
right?
total of about 4 hours.
Mhm. Mhm. Okay, yeah, you can have this. I did email it a while back,
Oh, okay.
but it was when we were having a previous meeting.
I have to put this email on my phone because it's on my computer and I always have to go back to my computer.
So the question on the floor, and I'll just, to keep it simple, I'll make a motion that we recommend that the Board of Supervisors pursue this opportunity and engage with PEC.
I'll second.
Okay. Any more discussion? I think we did our discussion before we did our motions, but that's okay.
Yeah, like there's things that I did look into this PET, there's things that they do that I don't like, but this might be an okay thing to do.
Okay,
Like there's some parts of the organization I looked at, I was not really into, but the stormwater one might be okay.
I think ultimately it's really, we're just giving advice and it's not our decision whether or
Yeah.
not they're gonna move forward, so. I would certainly support it.
so any more discussion? We're good? You seconded?
Yes.
No, we should take a vote.
Yes.
Okay. Aye.
Ladies?
I did I for the town,
For,
the
yeah,
stormwater.
for the storm, yeah, for the limited purpose of the
Yeah.
stormwater, don't have it, you know,
Okay,
Amy said it's. But I also would, you know, it would be interesting to see, I guess, other groups, like to me, if they're coming and do this, like maybe give a different, you know, organization the opportunity.
Do other organizations do this kind of stuff, or is this the
They-
only organization?
yeah, this would be the only, this is very targeted.
Okay.
They got a grant to do this specific work because it's needed. I don't know who the grantor is.
Also, it's
And-
free. I mean, you
Yeah,
can always
it's not
maybe
like a-
hire an engineer to do it, but that is an outlay.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Exactly.
it's not like we're taking a bid
Yeah.
and we're paying anybody.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the motion passes?
Sure.
Okay. Okay. And then the second thing to act on is to send a memo to the Board of Supervisors regarding the EAC support for the Neshaminy Watershed Consortium proposal. And I know 4 of us saw that,
Yeah, I saw.
which is great. I was so happy.
That's what.
So this time we'll do it the official way. I'll make a motion. Anyone second?
I'll second.
Now we can have discussion. Oh, it is, and I knew that. It's just that I get involved. And I come from a history of meetings that aren't run quite that formally. Yeah, we will. So Brooke, you weren't able to make it. Do you have any questions about the Chamonix Consortium?
No, I think we discussed it previously.
Yeah, we had. Yeah. Okay. At least we had kind of an email back and forth. And everybody has the PowerPoint. So it's seconded.
Yeah.
You're in favor? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're taking the vote. That's 2 ayes. Aye. We're good. Motion passes. Okay. Now the Neshaminy Watershed Association will, when it gets going, be able to apply for bigger grants that have the advantage of being able to hold together benefits for large swaths of land and creek. That would be much more appealing to grant makers than patchwork stuff. And these are the kinds of grants that people are looking for these days. Grant projects. Okay, so they were our 2 first, yay for us. We did our first 2 official actions. Next on the agenda is the zoning and saldo amendments. Margaret mentioned that the engineer is in the process of going through specific parts of our ordinances and doing some revising. I think I sent you the ones that we have, and those are about trees mainly. So we have a chance, just as we will look at these development plans when there's new development coming down the pike. We also can have input on this. So I don't think we're quite prepared right now to do that, but we can just know that that's something that is part of our charge, so we have to go about doing this. On that note, I just got an offer today through Karen Ogden. Karen Ogden is one of the coordinators at the Bucks County Conservancy District. Almost every county has a conservancy district, and they work to advance the conservation of resources throughout the counties, whichever their county is. And they have various kind of departments. Karen Ogden is the person that we are in touch with. She will reach out. She has reached out. She's the one who helped organize the meetings with the other EACs. So she said, I want to get the wording right. And I didn't write it down where I thought I wrote it down. So one of their environmentalist specialists would be happy to give us a crash course in reading development site plans and designs, so that we could understand what we're looking at when we look at development plans, and especially with an eye to the way that those plans might impact the environment. So I said, I sure would love that crash course. Just meet with her one time and she'll just go over it with us.
Would it be
Um,
something limited to this committee or would it be open to the public?
Oh, I think we're talking about the committee. I think she's talking about sitting down at a table, no offense. I think she's talking about, she's not gonna give a course, literally. She just wants to sit down with us in one meeting, and give us the lay of the land. Haha. So we can talk about that, but if you guys are interested, this looks like one way that we can start to get up to speed on how we can fill this duty we have to look at development plans. And I think it would help us with the amendments as well. I know I have a lot of questions about how to deal with the SALDO, the subdivision and land development ordinances. And the zoning.
What time frame is she talking about?
That's all there was. It was just, would you like this? And I responded and I said, I know at least one of us would. Let me take a poll of the group.
Yeah, I would be
yeah,
So,
interested.
yes,
Yes, yeah,
okay, yes.
absolutely.
So I will get back to them tomorrow, and maybe we could chat and see what kind of timeframes work, even like during the day. This is part of her job. So probably it would be easiest if it's during the day. If that doesn't work, she might be more flexible. I don't know. I've never met this person. This is brand new, but I think it could really help us. So we can talk about timing. Okay.
Did you, just thought you had mentioned a course that we could get a discount if more than 3 of us.
That's not a course. That is the EAC Network Virtual Conference. That is on Saturday, February 24th. That's not about ordinances. It's not a course. It's about connecting up with other EACs, hearing what they are doing. I will send you the link to the conference. It's $35 a piece, $75 for a group up to 5 people. So if everybody wants to go in, I mean, it's not a lot of money, so I'm sure But I'll send you the link and you can look at it. It's various sessions and in the afternoon, there are 3 different breakouts, so you can choose your sessions. You can go to one or the other. We could even divvy them up if we all decide to go.
Yeah, it's clearly something that, you know, we're taking on ourselves, but I do think, didn't you say that you have to the day before to sign up?
I would do it 2 days before.
So
I
we're,
wouldn't want to cut it too close.
so we're supposed to meet again on the 22nd, so maybe look at it and if you want to do it, because I think I'm gonna do it. So if I do it and you do it, that's already $70, so anybody else can do it for another 5 if you want to.
Right.
It's just
think you would.
online?
It's online. It's a virtual conference. It's a Saturday.
How long, is it all day or is it? a
It
flat-
is,
Yeah,
Okay.
it's like 6.5
Yeah.
hours.
but this is something for our own benefit. So we can go in and out, maybe among us, we could easily cover just about the whole day.
Like an- Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. There are lightning sessions in the morning and breakout sessions in the afternoon.
You might even, ask manager of the township if township might cover $75.
Okay.
Thank you. That was easy.
There you go.
I have to, as liaison, I have to phrase my comments to the chair. I can't,
A technique I'm still working on. A technique that I'm still working on when I go to other meetings. Yes. Mhm.
We could actually physically people. And I would highly recommend it. It's really focused on helping people on EACs learn about how EACs function. You know, so some of the things that you thought initially that you want to understand, that education is going to be provided. Plus you can network with other EACs, you know, even out in Pittsburgh. So you can create connections. It's a great opportunity.
Mhm.
So if you can do it, I would recommend.
Excellent.
If you could please just identify yourself for the people online.
Sure, yeah. So,
Thank you.
You are the power of town,
Oh, okay, thank you.
so you're. Fulfilling yourself. She doesn't need the book. Um. That's terrific, and it will follow up very nicely on the calls that we're making and the conversation we'll have on the 22nd with that concrete information, and then that will get kind of redoubled by an even broader exposure to what so many other EACs are doing. Yeah. So for an EAC that is just getting started when everybody else around us has really been going for a long time, I think these are nice as a lot of efforts toward catching up at least. Okay. Thank you for putting that in there. If you want to be ambitious, there is the Pennsylvania Municipal Something Educational Institute. John, I'm sure you know this institute. PMPEI. Yeah. That gives courses. And they are in May giving a course on subdivision and land development ordinances. And I'm taking it. I am not suggesting that, now this is $125. It's in person, 4 days, it's 10 hours. So it's a commitment. I just feel a little desperate. I want to do this. Anybody else?
Represent us.
But I will send you the link to this institute. They do also have short courses. Margaret and I just took a 2-hour webinar on quick overview of Saldo. Which was, it was okay. It was general. It was very general. So the one in May should be more specific. But there are so many opportunities out there. You could learn every minute of every day and not even scratch it. Any questions so far? Am I leaving anything untied and strings? Okay.
No, I think we kind of did 8 and 9 together.
We did?
Well, we
Oh.
were talking about
Right,
zoning and Zelda
yeah.
and kind of got into other business.
Other business is a category that could go on forever. Because we need to design a whole future. But one thing, that I think we should settle is we need to have someone who will go to planning commission meetings. Neither of you still go to the park board? Anybody still go to the park board meetings? You're still a liaison? Oh, good.
Well, I'm still, yeah, so.
When are the planning meetings?
Planning meetings are
Tuesdays.
Tuesdays?
Yeah,
Like during the day?
No, everything's at 7,
Okay.
always.
It's, I guess, the second Tuesday of every, month, if there's business.
Yeah, they cancel a lot. And more than one of us can go.
Okay. I could probably go to some. I just didn't know,
Mhm.
like, you know, just
Yeah,
look at my kid's schedule.
yes, yeah.
I mean, we could perhaps, instead of having an assigned person for each committee, at each previous meeting that we have, maybe talk about the next upcoming meetings and if anybody, and assign people month per month. It's just throwing an idea out there.
Mhm.
For example, Parks and Rec is on Tuesday. I will go and ask about the Easter egg hunt and if we can hand out flyers or something.
Mhm. Mhm.
So.
Do people like that idea? At least in the beginning?
Do you want to do something? Oh, you,
I mean, I understand Parks and Rec is actually going to be looking for a new board member and be putting out applications soon. So, I mean, if any of us want to apply to be that new board member, and so when this committee was created, there's no conflicts where if someone could not, I mean, assuming, of course, the Board of Supervisors agrees, could not sit on both committees. I'm putting Mary Beth on the spot.
I'm only one person. I
Okay.
can't tell you what the board of supervisors is gonna do.
Well, I just meant, I'm not telling you what they definitely will do. I'm just saying that there is nothing written into the EAC ordinance that says someone can only sit on the EAC and not.
That's the several.
Yes, right, yes, I have noticed. I probably just for fair disclosure, my firm has a number of matters that go before the planning commission.
Mhm.
And that's why I never even applied to be on the planning commission. Therefore, I'm afraid I might sometimes have a conflict of interest
okay.
to ever be even a liaison with
Mhm.
them on this board. As I mentioned before, even if there was, say, a plan that came before this board, that was from a developer or builder that is either currently being represented by my firm or has been represented by my firm in other matters, I would recuse myself.
Okay. Fair enough.
For conversation and voting, but I did not
Right.
put up front.
Okay. Okay.
Well, maybe we can all think about that and
Yeah.
next Thursday,
Mhm.
come back with a plan. I mean,
Yeah, we get a calendar of
Yeah.
when the meetings are.
Yes,
Just Tuesday, after the first Tuesday, is that what you said?
it is the first Tuesday, I believe.
second Tuesday, it
Second
looks
Tuesday.
like. Second Tuesday is Planning Commission. Third Tuesday is Parks and Rec. The third Wednesday is Veterans Committee. That's all we really have to worry about. We're not going to the zoning hearing board.
We could.
We could go to sit in and, but there wouldn't be any official.
It's not the same as a committee, or, they have a slightly different function, so it's not like you could interact with them. They hold hearings, they don't hold meetings.
So it's just three committees, Parks and
Mhm.
Rec, Planning and the Veterans Committee.
Mhm. We still wouldn't want to conflict with the zoning hearing board times though. On principle, I think. Okay, so we'll come back to that.
Yeah.
Okay. Another thing, we need to think about is bylaws. We should have bylaws. I'll send you a link to um, the, the EAC network, which put out the handbook. They have a site that it's like going down a rabbit hole. You'd never, ever get to the end of it. And they have samples of everything and they have sample bylaws. They don't say, here is an ideal sample. They say, here's this township's bylaws and that township and that township and that township. So if we all just look at some of these bylaws, we don't have to create our bylaws next week. But we should start thinking about how we would craft that. Does that sound good? Okay. So I'm sending you that. And I'm sending the link to the EAC network. What else did I say I would send?
The EACs were reaching out to.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes,
email.
definitely. That I got, yeah. Okay. We talked about the Easter egg hunt. Okay. I think that might be good for other business.
Yes, we can only change the December meeting, right? We can't change any of the dates.
Not. We're not bothering with after December
Okay,
because new calendars get created in December for the entire next year.
okay,
We could switch our to the other Thursday,
but not until,
right?
okay,
But we can change that November, December. We'll decide finally on that next week.
okay.
Maybe we'll go to that December 5th
Okay.
or November, December. Is there, yeah,
Well, I just, so if two of us, like, let's say have a conflict, like you're saying, can't be at the March meeting, for example, does that impact the views?
What is a quorum?
Yeah,
Is it 3 people?
I believe it's 3.
Okay.
Mhm. But March isn't settled. We may
Okay,
move
okay,
to
okay.
another Thursday,
Yeah,
okay.
beginning in January. To this,
I think it's about this upcoming
No, I'm
March.
talking about year.
Holy Thursday.
Because, yeah, that-
This
We're talking about
Thursday.
2024.
just because that is.
Because,
you
because
know,
next year it probably will not be, you know,
it probably
it
will.
won't be the end of March.
I do think March
to-
and May are a problem. Just because it's holidays.
We can't change it all.
But that's what I said, but even I think Labor Day is early. So
Yeah.
I think even the Labor Day, again, which I'm not telling you to change it, but even the Labor Day
Yeah,
weekend, I think
we
the
probably
Thursday
should have looked
before.
better
The
before we
Thursday
fixed it.
before Labor Day is Thursday. Yeah.
Maybe we should have kept the original schedule. It was
Yeah.
actually the second one that we had put out. The board scrambled, yes.
We have advertised both the original schedule and the change schedule. You have your choice of 2 dates.
Okay.
Then you can meet.
What was the original one again?
Tuesday, it was a Tuesday.
It might be better. Fourth Thursday, it's just,
John, does that sound right? That we could just
It might have been the second Tuesday.
helter choose between Tuesdays and Thursdays? It's getting late. Things are
All right,
starting. to-
look at it again.
It's
We'll go
about
through
next
the email.
Thursday.
We'll go through the email.
My
Okay.
concern would be if there was something presented where we had to do a vote, I don't want anybody to then be filing an appeal with the Board of Common Pleas saying that they did not properly advertise its votes on their recommendation.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah, well, let's table it. It's not like it's even a motion or anything.
Right.
Let's just look at it.
We have to be open with the public.
Yeah. But if you're saying we could do the old one or the new one.
I don't know about that. We need to look into that. Let's table this.
Okay.
All right.
No, we're good, we're good.
Any public comments? Yes, Ken.
Sure, hi, my name is Ken Jones, resident of Newbury Township, Circle Drive in Shelburne. I just wanted to say a couple of things. I promise I won't take up too much of your time. The first thing is I'm excited that the township has an EAC. I think it's a very important function that's been missing for a long time. And I think you're all aware that fundamentally your roles are to be an advocate for the environment. Right? If you find yourself doing things or thinking about things that ultimately are negatively affecting the environment, then that's the wrong approach. Okay, so being an advocate for the environment is very important. I think you should focus on infrastructure. You're starting out, figure out what are the things that you need to do to be an effective group, you know, in the immediate short to medium term, and then the good stuff, projects and that can happen later, right? The temptation will be to try and go out and do actual stuff, but I think if you focus on that, that's going to be the right thing. Speaking from the experience of starting up a nonprofit, that was our focus: getting your infrastructure, how you communicate, what your mission and vision is, and all those. Understanding your constraints. We all have constraints. You have constraints, the laws of the Commonwealth, private property rights. So understanding those is going to be important, because you'll spin wheels, right, if you don't understand what they are. Understand incentives, the incentives for the engineers, right? They have economic incentives. They're going to want to do things a certain way that may be different from the way that you think. But the reality is, if you don't understand those incentives, you can waste time. And then finally, partners, understanding there are a whole group of partnerships out there. Kathleen already mentioned the Conservation District, Wexford County Conservation District. You know, there's county level, there's Commonwealth level, and there's even federal partnerships, DCNR, DEP, and so forth, you know, for grants and the like. And then there's nonprofits, not just the Neshaminy Watershed Association. I'm sure that there are others that you'll identify that can help you. So good luck. I'm excited to see what you guys can do.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
I just want to make a real quick comment. You guys are my work for 4 long years to get this EAC started. And to see you actually sitting there and holding your first meeting is just wonderful. So I welcome you to the township and hope to work with you.
Thank you. And thank you for your support, everybody. There'll be more of you next time. Okay. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I have a motion to adjourn.
Second. Meeting adjourned. Okay.